Hey guys, so today is mostly going to be an info dump, so I'm just going to be doing my dailies because I'm kind of short on time today, unless I mess up this recording, of course, in which case then you'll get to stare at a unit. But anyways, I'll be going over the event itself, how you're going to be able to obtain unit shards, assuming that Global uses the same approach that Japan did, and I'm also going to be going over some raid info, specifically the stamp system, so that way you guys know how it works. Knowing how the stamp system functions is a huge deal, as if you can get yourself ahead of the game, you'll be able to benefit greatly. So the event itself is actually not that big. It's going to consist of an easy and hard mode, and you're going to have to complete both modes in order to maximize your Rhino shards. And by completing both modes, you should be able to more or less max them out. Now, his shards, if I remember correctly, do drop from the stages, and you might have to farm them for his Kaigen if Gumi doesn't give you anything extra to work with. Because I think there was only enough to get him to like 85 in Japan. So to keep that in mind, you are likely going to need to run a bunch of extra crap, but who cares? It is a free Kaigen at the end of the day. Now, as for the actual units themselves, so they had hard quests in Japan, and it was like any old hard quest. You got 3 per day. You actually had to manually run them. There weren't skip tickets for them, so be prepared to be spending a lot of time this month, unless they let you use those event skip tickets that Global has. You're going to need to set some time in your day aside in order to do those, as those, well, they aren't necessarily hard. They are they're just long enough to be obnoxious, is a good way to say it. But anyways, the good news is that if you farm every single day and your event is a month long, that's going to equate somewhere to about 90 to 100 shards, plus 100 or plus 25 shards from that pick ticket that's going to come from the panel. And if you get 25 shards any other way, like for instance from the whale coin shop, well, all of a sudden you can transmute any unit you want from the event, at least of the Attack on Titan units. This is of course assuming that Global does the same thing Japan did. Now, Judith is not going to be available like that. You're going to have to actually sack her or pull her just by brute forcing it. And she is the prize unit of the event, in my opinion. So do keep that in mind. You're going to want to set some gems aside for her. But all in all, I don't necessarily think it's a huge deal. It's not like not having Judith is going to be detrimental for your progress as a player. She's just a very nice thing to have, to be honest. Now, as for the banners themselves, Aaron was on a guaranteed 3-step, and no other unit was guaranteed. However, since you are going to be able to get like 125 shards just from hard quests and through the panel ticket, once again, I forgot to check how long the event was before starting this video, but assuming you have a month, you should be able to, with relative ease, get the unit that you want, whether it's Levi, Aaron, or Mikasa. So on to the rating, more specifically the stamp system. So I did not go over the stamp system in my previous raid video, and it works a little bit differently than the assist system. So it is based around the assist system, but instead of trying to get as many kills as possible, the stamp system is going to have its own laps and rewards on each lap. And to complete a lap, you're going to have to kill one of each boss. It's really not that complicated. You kill one of each boss, you complete a lap. You get 10 tickets for completing your first lap. You get 20 tickets for completing your second, all the way up to the 10th lap, where they'll drop 100 of said tickets on your lap. These tickets can contain 5-star and 4-star units, as well as 5-star and 4-star Nensos, and just a plethora of other goodies, including but not limited to, if I remember correctly, elemental frags, weapon frags, just all sorts of fun things that you're going to want. You're going to want to complete your laps. More specifically, you are going to want to guarantee that you complete lap 10. It's a really big deal. If you do not complete lap 10, you just missed out on 100 tickets and possibly tons and tons of rewards. So you might be thinking, well, why is it so necessary for me to get a jump on this? And it is because you are going to find that the longer the event goes on, there are going to be certain raid bosses that are impossible to find. It started out with the Armored Titan. He was ridiculously hard to find. He was the easiest Titan to kill originally, because you only needed a fire magic team to really kill him. But since everyone went and killed him off and no one had him and everyone was stuck on the area bosses, no one was putting him up. So anyone who had not completed a large number of laps immediately on their stamps just got absolutely screwed. You, with enough patience, you could refresh the screen enough that you would get one, but it was like gone in a matter of a minute. Like if you missed it, like getting it off immediately, you just weren't going to get it. So you could spend anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes just trying to complete one of your laps off of one of those bosses. Later on, when they went and nerfed some of the other ones, the Abnormal Titan became the most difficult to find, as he was also ridiculously easy to kill after the nerf. They did nerf the raids halfway through because it was becoming obvious to Gumi that with the way they set up the stamp system and the fact that Reiner, Armored Titan, could not be found under any circumstance, they made some changes, but this problem persisted, and this problem actually persisted into the next set. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. This problem actually persisted into the POTK raids later on, and it was just a pervasive problem altogether until they changed over to the guild system that we have now. Nowadays, finding any particular boss doesn't matter, as the amount of kills is more important than the types of kills you get. So you are definitely going to want to get yourself your hands on these stamps ASAP. You should not wait for anything. That should be the first thing you do while you raid, is get as many of your stamp laps in as possible. This is of course assuming that you go with the stamp system. Other than that, there isn't much else to say about this raid. Your first lap, you're going to have the Beast Titan as your area boss, and he is going to be, I want to say, wind-based or fire-based. I can't remember which. I think maybe he was wind-based, because I think I used a fire team to kill him. The second boss is going to be the Taurus, and he is going to be a dark enemy, and he is arguably the hardest raid boss, to be honest. He has these ridiculous counters, or at least he did originally. It was like 1.5 to 2,000 damage in an AoE around him with a counter, and it inflicted death sentence. It was absolutely absurd. Later on, he did get nerfed, but he still remained the hardest raid boss for several raids to continue. So having a good light team to take him on is going to be essential. Now, we did have some extra options for us at the time that you guys don't have available yet, such as I can't remember if Zane Plus was around yet or not. He might have been, but there was definitely Cannon Plus around, and we just had better options in general for our light teams, in my opinion. I'm not exactly sure how Minerva's going to hold up in this particular situation, but having her buffs along is probably going to help tremendously. Make sure that you pack like Chihaya or some other unit to slow the boss, as turns or the amount of time you can spend inside the raid is based on the number of turns that the boss can take now in global. That functionality was later changed because Bond broke the game because Gumi can't code. But point being is you're going to want to pack a slow, and you're going to want to pack buffs because you're going to want to output as much damage as possible in as little time as possible. And if you can extend your turns by slowing the boss, that's a definite plus. Other than that, there isn't too much strategy to raids other than just wailing on the boss. I don't know if Gumi's going to implement like the friend and guild assist system yet. Those did come later, but the original Attack on Titan raids were pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie, they were a mess. But yeah, that's really all I have to say on the raids now that I think about it, because the raids were just a lot simpler back then. So the TLDR here is make sure you farm the hard quests every day for all your units. Make sure you hit the stamps hard when you start, and I mean hard. You're going to thank yourself tremendously if the same kind of instance that happened in Japan happens in Global, and you can't find the certain bosses that you want. Now, I couldn't tell you for sure if Global's going to make any changes. Once again, this entire video series is taken from a Japan perspective, and there's no way of telling exactly what Global is going to do with it. So do keep that in mind. Do not take my words as like prophecy. This is me just guessing what you guys are going to get based on what we experienced. So anyways, guys, that's really it for the event and raid itself. I know this was just kind of an awkward video of me just doing dailies as I explained to you what the raids and the content is going to be. But it's definitely worth knowing ahead of time, especially about the stamp system, because getting a head start on that's going to be highly advantageous to you. So I am probably going to make at least one more video, and this one will be about Judith. Probably not going to make it today because I'm incredibly tired and I gotta get somewhere soon. But definitely look forward to that. Judith is a monster of a unit. Well, she isn't a monster in the same kind of way that like Meliodas or Levi is a monster. She's a support monster like Minerva is, where she has a very good support kit that no other unit in the game really has, and she's like a Swiss Army knife for offensive units. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching as always. Hopefully I'll get that video out tomorrow, and hope to see you next time.